So here's the final project for. Let me move my mic over here so hopefully I get better audio. Here's the final project for Natalie Soltis, CS 4900. Unfortunately, this is really only half working. I was unable to get everything working. I really wanted to, and it's currently like 2:40 a.m. and I'm still trying a little bit, but with this I've more or less resigned that there's probably something just wrong with Recast or something like that. So what does work is it does build a nav mesh. However, I cannot get queries working on it. I do not know why. I have tried quite literally everything. The Recast library has been a nightmare to work with because of a lack of documentation for it. It seems that most people use most other companies use in-house solutions, or people looking for nav mesh compatibility will use an engine like Unity or Unreal. I was able to find one person, however, they were unable to help me at a point. And even though they had implemented Recast in apparently multiple AAA titles, they were unable to figure out what was wrong with my project. So that was fun. So to run the project, just open it in CMake, compile it. All of the files are included. Recast is included as it's pure code instead of compiled libraries because I did not spend the time to compile it. Does make it a little bit longer to compile, but just hitting F5 here so I can step through the NavMesh build process and demonstrate that. So this is old, it's not really used anymore. There were a lot of modifications I made to this. Right now the nav mesh like data is getting read through Recast demos parser, like file parser, but originally I was reading through the model class. I tried to switch to this in the hope that it would fix something, and it didn't. However, it does still build. We're reading all of our data here, and then we are building our NavMesh configuration. This is all just configuration for the NavMesh data. All of this data is contained in our after NavMesh class, so we can modify all of this. One I would like to mention is where is it? Here it is. The sample partition type. This tells Recast what type of navigation should be built. There's watershed, there's monotone, and there is layers. All of these have their advantages, and it's in the documentation. But I've used watershed for most tests because it's the default and it's what's suggested. So here we start creating our stuff. So creating a height field, creating our triangles, marking those walkable, doing all of this, pretty much setting specific spans and such for where our nav mesh should be placed. And just continuing here, building compact type field. There's a large amount of data that has to be built for this, which is part of the reason why it was so difficult, is figuring out how all of this works and what comes after what and what comes after what, because not just one implementation didn't really help. Like, I needed multiple implementations to actually figure out what was going on. I ended up looking off of a implementation from like 2009, made for the Urclect engine, which I don't even think exists anymore. But yeah. So building the polymesh and polymesh detail. With the polymesh detail, we have recast fully initialized. This has not errored, and we can see if we look at our polymesh, which is just called PM, it is correctly populated here. This is all accurate. So populating this data now, this is now Detour, which is the navigation aspect of Detour, of the recast library. I believe that if we're having issues, it's probably in Detour somewhere. So perhaps building a custom solution for Detour would be, instead of Detour, would be a good idea. However, I of course did not have the time, as this already took me like 4 weeks. So stepping through all of this, nothing much I really have to say about it. So, oh, one thing I did build. This functions, the aftermesh. One interesting thing I did was, this is a function pointer. So we can inform when our nav mesh is built and do things based off that. I did a lot of interesting things here, actually. We also have this world object detour actor, which is essentially what is commanded, what's commanded by, or rather, it's a world object that's commanded by a detour instance. Recast speaks entirely in floats, like float arrays, for vectors. So I did write 2 little functions to switch between those, and I used those around. However, this is, I mean, we'll step into it. So I will just continue this. So we're just creating a new crowd, which is essentially the movement engine of Detour. You could probably remove this. Like I said, the actual nav mesh is most likely valid. So this was just me attempting to debug Detour crowd. Some leftover breakpoints. So let's step into new Detour actor. So we're just setting all of the various information based on the class member variables. Setting up we set up and then add our agent, which is what they call the individual objects that are moving around the nav mesh. And we get this, and this returns true, so this is valid. However, I do not know just some of the things it does confuse me, and that's it. And at this point, we do have a built instance. You can see a test map I was using. This is the geometry that is being passed in. You can modify it in, there's a string that's passed here, navmesh. Any OBJ file will work. And this is our actor. It doesn't work. Like, if I hit G, which is supposed to set goal, it won't move. However, if I hit T, it will teleport, that's speaking through the navmesh language, so that it does actually work at least that far. Yeah, so lots of issues with this. However, I do think the progress I was able to make in the time and with the library that is slightly temperamental is, pretty alright. Two small things I forgot to mention. Um, One is those float arrays I was talking about. Um, I need to find an instance of one. Um, they are so there's many ways, as you probably know, to store a float array. Um, it was definitely a journey figuring out which one uh, is the correct way. It took me quite literally a day to figure that out. Um, it because no code I could find was very helpful when it comes to it. Um, I wondered if there was like buffers between the vectors, stuff like that, for passing in vertices and such. Second thing is that I was informed that that recast was actually Y up very, very late into working on this. It doesn't matter now because I have it correctly parsing it back uh, from Y up to Z up. But that was definitely a thing that caused some issues, and that was not clear at all in the documentation. So just two little extra things for you.